Hi guys, it's Jacob here. I'm coming back with another math tutorial. This time we are doing chapter 5. This is page 232, section 5.3. This is question 4 for which values of theta um, between 0 degrees and 2 pi is each of the following undefined. Alright, so first thing that I want to do when we talk about this question is you gotta know your unit circle. So you set that up. You put the coordinates on each side. This is just something I like to do. Don't have a lot of space here. I'm gonna improvise, put it off a little bit to the side, but you know that one should be down there. And you also know that it's talking about in terms of pi, not in terms of like 360 degrees, 180 degrees. It's talking in terms of pi, 2 pi, 3 over pi, things like that. So we're also going to label that as well because those will be helpful. So over here you have 0, and you'll have 2 pi being the full rotation. Over here you will have pi over 2. Over here is just pi, and then over here is 3 pi over 2. That was a bad pi, but yeah, it's pi. Alright, so another important thing to consider is the hypotenuse for your angles in a radian circle is 1. It's always going to be 1. So with that in mind, I think we can move in to our first question, which is where is sine undefined? Okay, so we know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so now we're looking for where essentially it's undefined or 0 is in the denominator. But as you look, no matter where, in which quadrant it is, your hypotenuse will always be 1, so it will never be undefined. You could have 0 over 1, you could have negative 1 over 1, but it's not ever going to be undefined. So our answer is never. Just like that. So we look at cos. Moving on to B, we look at cos, and cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. And we come across the same solution that we had with sine, where the hypotenuse is always going to be 1, no matter which quadrant we're in. So it's never going to be undefined. So those two are pretty easy, both never being undefined because they're both over the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is always 1. Alright, so with that in mind, let's move on to tan. And we know that tan is opposite over adjacent. So in this one, we're looking where is it undefined? So where is the opposite angle? I'm also going to write this because this is also going to help. The opposite is sine, which is y. That was a bad equal sign, but you know it's an equal sign. And then our adjacent is equal to cos, which is equal to x. So with that in mind, what we're looking for with tan is opposite over adjacent, sine over cos, or y over x. So we're looking now for where x will be 0 in the denominator. So if we look at our unit circle, we'll see that our cos, or our x value, is 0 at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So we know that tan of theta will be undefined at pi over 2 and at 3 pi over 2. Okay, that was nice. Now we look at cotangent. Now, cotangent, actually before I get into cotangent, let's just reiterate on tan. So we know that tan is opposite over adjacent, and we know that cotangent is the opposite. So the opposite of opposite over adjacent is adjacent over opposite. So now we're looking for where the opposite, or the sine, or the y, is a 0. So we look at our unit circle, we see our measurements here. We know that our y value, or our sine, or our opposite, is going to be 0 at 0 and pi. So that is where it will be undefined at 0 and at pi, because there we would have 0 over 1, or sorry, we would have 1 over 0, because it's adjacent over opposite with cotangent, and negative 1 over 0, both of which are undefined. Alright, now we're moving on to secant, and we know, what we know about secant is that cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, so secant, which is the opposite, is, yeah, you got it, hypotenuse over adjacent. So now what we're looking for is where our adjacent is going to be 0. So if we look at our unit circle again, we see that our adjacent, or our hypotenuse, or our x, is 0 at pi over 2, and it's also 0 again at 3 pi over 2. Yeah, exactly. And with secant, our hypotenuse is on the top, and it's always going to be 1, like I said before. And our adjacent at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2, it's undefined. So secant is undefined at pi over 2, as well as at 3 pi over 2. All right, and our last one is cosecant. And let's write down what we know about sine, where it is opposite over hypotenuse. So, and cosecant is the opposite. So we know that it is, oh, well done. You're 2 for 2 on the day. Ooh, that's an A. My bad. You know it's an O. It's an O. It's supposed to be opposite. So now we look for where our hypotenuse is over our opposite angle, and our opposite is supposed to be 0 because we're looking for where it's undefined. So we look again, and as you see, we look at your unit circle. I told you guys to write this down because this was helpful. It's 0 at 0, and it's 0 at pi. And like we said before, the hypotenuse is always going to be 1, so hypotenuse doesn't change. So it is undefined at 0 and pi. Hopefully that these steps were pretty easy. It's very important to know in terms of pi what each angle is, as well as the unit circle. It helps a lot when you try to find angles and things like that, and it really helps for this question. So I hope you guys enjoyed it and that you learned a little something, and that when you do these questions, it'll be a little bit easier. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.